What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to do a rapid fire review of all the Warbonds. If you're looking for a more top to bottom in-depth review, you can go see people like Odo, Thick Fillet, Claystetics, Crazy Mr. Pips. Those guys do a much better job if you want more in-depth. I'm just going to quickly go over things that might be good in the Warbond, things that aren't very good, and rank them out of 10. The other guys do an alphabetical ranking, S, A, B, C, so on and so forth. I'm going to do 1 through 10. 1 being absolute garbage, 10 being perfection, and 5 being dead average. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first one that pops up for me is the Halo ODST Warbond. The reason it pops up is because I don't have everything unlocked. And you might be thinking, how can you give this thing an accurate rating if you don't have everything unlocked? Well, page 1, completely unlocked. Page 2, the only thing that I don't have unlocked is the cape and the armor set, just because I don't like this armor set. I think it's ugly. I'm not a big fan of blue, and I don't really like the green belly button. And then on the last page, it's just a title and cosmetic stuff. I have all the weapons unlocked. All right, so let's get into it. First page, the only real thing of value is the assault rifle, but it's not even that good. This is essentially just an adjudicator that can't be customized. So in my opinion, it's not great. The armor here, it's very niche. I guess you could play with this if you're doing a solo stealth build, but 99% of the things in this game are not stealth, so this is pretty pointless in my opinion. Next page, the SMG is essentially equivalent to the Killzone SMG, which is trash, and the suppressors on these guns don't work, so the only cool thing about them is broken. On the final page, the shotgun, it's fun to use, but it's not good. You know, it does 600 damage, but it's light armor pen. It's just, I don't know. You get overwhelmed very quickly. It has a very small, mag capacity, so it's just not very good. And same thing with the pistol. This is essentially a peacemaker with a suppressor, but again, the suppressor doesn't work, so these guns really aren't that good. Overall, I'm going to give this Warbond, I personally think this is the worst Warbond in the game, especially considering it is 1,500 super credits and you don't get any super credits back. So really, if you think about it, the average Warbond only costs about 700 super credits because you get 300 back. This costs a total of 1,500, you don't get any back, so this is more than double the cost. So for that reason, I'm giving this a 1 out of 10. Trash. Dust Devils is next. On the first page here, we have an armor which basically combines 2 other armor sets into this one, but both of the stats of those other armor sets have been reduced to make this one. I think it looks really cool, but the armor set in general is just very average. The Coyote is phenomenal. If you haven't heard, yes, it is good, and it's definitely the best AR, and it's not even close. Against all factions, I would say this gun is probably a solid A pick. I don't think it's S tier. I just think there's several other guns that are better than this one, but this is the best AR. So if you like using ARs, I think this gun is very good, especially when it's fully upgraded. Okay, next page, the spear gun. Some people love it, some people hate it. I think it's pretty good. I think it shines actually pretty decent against all factions. It is not the most OP weapon, but it's very fun, and it's like having 12 additional grenades, gas grenades in your pocket. And it can one-shot things like Hulks, and it can stop flesh mobs in their tracks when they're in a full sprint. So pretty dang good. This is also very good as long as you know how to use it. There's 20 projectiles that explode out of the initial explosion, and that can code an area. So hitting in somewhere up top, up high, like a wall or something, and have all of this spray down below, this is very good when you know how to use it. The solo silo, overall pretty good. There are some things that I don't like about it, how it draws enemy aggro and things like that, but overall it's not too bad. You can definitely make some pretty cool plays with this. And then the pineapple, in my opinion, the worst grenade in the game. If you saw my grenade rework video, I stated that in there. This thing is absolute trash. This thing is just god-awful against all factions. So the solo silo, pretty good. These 2 weapons are also pretty good, and the Coyote is very good. Overall, I would say this Warbond's probably a solid 8 out of 10. Control group. Okay, first page, the variable. I think it shines most against the Illuminate. You can take out the Harvester with one shot if you have that, select fire mode where you shoot everything that you have. So that's kind of cool. The Epoch, it has very limited range. It has no demolition force, and the risk is very high, and the reward is very average. So I'm not really a big fan of this. The armor Adreno Defibrillator provides one-time short-lived resuscitation upon death. I don't know. It's fine, but again, it's nothing special. It's not game-changing, really. Next page, the Laser Sentry, one of the worst sentries in the game, in my opinion. It just overheats way too quickly. A lot of times it doesn't target weak points. So you'll see on screen here, it'll actually target a heavy devastator, and it'll just shoot their shield. And literally, like, there could be one devastator on the screen, and if it's this one, this will not be able to kill a single enemy because it'll just hit the shield. I think it needs to aim at weak points. Right now, this just is not a very good sentry, in my opinion. The Warp Pack is fantastic. This quite literally changes how one can move around and traverse and play the game. This thing is awesome. The Arc, not very good overall. I would give this probably a low C tier against most enemies across all factions. It doesn't have any demo force, and so I'm not a huge fan of it. So really the only redeeming quality of this Warbond is the Warp Pack. So I would say this Warbond is probably I'm going to give this Warbond a 6.5 out of 10, and that's really only because of the Warp Pack. Forces of Law. So right now, stun is kind of broken, and so that essentially makes the pacifier useless. This is by far the worst AR in the game, and it's not even close. You can argue with me against that. I will die on that hill. This thing absolutely blows chunks. Next page, the De-Escalator. It used to feel good on squads. Then they nerfed it kind of in a way, or rebalanced it. So it doesn't feel as good anymore. And especially if you're playing by yourself, this thing just does not feel good. The armor, it's this ballistic padding. So again, it's kind of a mishmash of other armors. It's not bad, but again, it's nothing crazy. And then finally on this page, the Guard Dog K9. This is, in my opinion, my least favorite guard dog out of all of them. It shoots very slow, and there's something going on with arc weapons. Well, it's not going on right now. It's been going on for a long time, where arc weapons will sometimes target dead enemies on the ground. It just doesn't really feel very good. Again, it's my least favorite rover out of all of them. And then the Urchin. This can stagger the largest enemies in the game. However, I don't like it because, if I throw this on, let's say, a Bile Titan, and it's staggering it around, I can no longer easily get a headshot because it's making these violent movements back and forth. And so I wish it would just stun lock the largest enemies instead of staggering them. So overall, I am not a real big fan of this Warbond. I'm probably going to give this a 3.5 out of 10. Masters of Ceremony. On the first page here, we have the reinforced epaulets. So increased reload speed of primary weapons by 30%, give wearer 50% chance to avoid grievous injury, increase melee damage by 50%. Again, a mishmash of other things. I think it looks cool, but again, it's just these passives are only okay. The amendment is an okay weapon. It really only feels good, in my opinion, against the bots because you can pop those heads. The ergonomics are pretty good. It has a pretty fast fire rate. So overall, it's not a bad weapon, but it really only shines against one's faction. Here we have the Saber, but since they nerfed melee weapons, all melee weapons just feel terrible. So there's really nothing on this page we're talking about. Speaking of something worth not talking about, this is, in my opinion, this is the worst stratagem across red, blue, and green in the entire game. This thing is absolute garbage. It is a melee weapon. That's all it does. It sucks. And if you're upset about that, then yeah, well, you don't use this. You don't use this, and you don't play this game. Pyrotech is actually quite good. It really shines against the bots. It can really melt those enemies pretty easily. It does a lot of damage. It is deceiving because it says it only does 50 damage, but I've thrown one of these down and was able to kill a Hulk. And I think I can throw 4 of these down and kill a Factory Strider. They feel very good. This is the only redeeming part of this entire Warbond. Everything else is average at best, or just outright terrible. So I would give this Warbond probably a 4.5 out of 10. Next is Borderline Justice. So first page here, the armor. So if you like to really use your secondary weapons a lot, this is good. Outside of that, it's pretty niche. The Deadeye is fun to use, but it's not the most practical. It shoots fairly slow. It has a very long reload and slow reload, and low ammo capacity. So it's just, I don't know. It's only okay. You're rewarded if you are really accurate, and that feels good. But if you're not very accurate, like me, then you're probably not going to like it very much. The Talon, this is a very solid secondary choice. Medium armor pen, 200 damage, unlimited ammo as long as you don't overheat the cells in it. Very good choice. Very good choice. Very good secondary. Dynamite needs to be more powerful. I think this thing needs heavy armor pen, and it needs more demo force. I want to be able to throw this on just to the outside of a fabricator or a bug hole and have it blow it up. It can't do that, so it's not really that good in my opinion. The hover pack is very fun. Yeah, it's just very fun. It can make some weapons super cool, like the flamethrower. You can get up in the face of a Bile Titan and just melt its head off. And in that case, it's cool. It's fun, but it's not overly powerful. It just kind of makes the game fun. But overall, I would say really the only 2 things that are good in this Warbond would be the Talon and the hover pack. And for that, I would say this is just above average, maybe a 5.5. Servants of Freedom. So right here you have the integrated explosion. This is essentially a suicide vest. I cannot stand this, especially when playing in squads, because if your teammates don't tell you they have this and they die and you're next to them, so do you. And you go with them, and it just doesn't feel very good. So I'm not personally a big fan. The double-edged sickle, pretty good. You have to build your kit and your gear around it, but it can be pretty fun. It starts off as light armor pen, then it goes to medium, then it goes to heavy. Very unique. The only weapon that can do that in the game. So that's pretty cool. The Ultimatum, arguably the best secondary in the game. Very powerful. Can delete most things with just one shot. The Portable Hell Bomb, the only stratagem in the game that can take out the stratagem jammers. So that's pretty cool. And then the Seeker, it can do kind of cool things. Like it can take out gunships, but it's very unique. But it's a drone. I think it needs to travel a lot further as it's a drone. And I don't know, it just doesn't really feel very good. Pretty lackluster. So, I don't know. With this thing, I would probably give this Warbond maybe a 6.5 out of 10. Okay, the first page, one of the best armors in the game in my opinion. I'm very upset that we only get a light and heavy armor sets. We don't have a medium armor set, maybe just because they thought it would be just way too overpowered, because it is pretty freaking good. As you can see, the stats there: increase reload speed, primary weapons by 30%, increase ammo capacity. This is very solid. It takes certain guns that are good, and it can take them to the next level of being great. Yeah, really good armor. This is S-tier armor. The directional shield, kind of weird. I don't know. The only way you can operate it is if you have a one-handed weapon. So it's kind of limiting. I don't know. And it's huge. I just find myself getting hit by more projectiles that ragdoll me, knocking me around, and they would not have hit me if I didn't have this up. So I'm not a real big fan of it. Again, we talked about melee. So anytime melee comes across here, it's trash because they nerfed it and it just doesn't feel good. The Flamethrower Sentry, not very good at all, has a very limited range. and it gets overwhelmed very easily. One of the worst sentries in the game. Not a fan. However, this is one of the best sentries in the game, or emplacements in the game. This thing is S tier, I would say, against all factions, maybe high A tier if I'm being mean, but this feels really good. So this is probably the only redeeming thing in this game outside of the armor. So between these two, I would say I would give this probably like a 7 out of 10, just because the armor and the emplacement is so good. Truth Enforcers, this is more of your drip Warbond. Everything looks pretty cool, but everything in here is kind of lackluster. The Halt is okay. It's a decent shotgun, but you got to get used to swapping between the two different ammo types. It is, however, the most effective stun weapon in the game, where it can stun basically any enemy with just one shot. So that feels pretty good, but outside of that, I don't love it. The Reprimand is good. It is a two-handed SMG, which kind of sucks, which essentially just makes this an AR. And when comparing it to the ARs, it's actually pretty good. Medium armor pen, 125 damage. And once they fix the spread on this thing, it definitely feels a lot better. The armor is just unflinching. Again, it's fine. It's not great. It's really only practical against the bots, mostly. And then on this page, the only thing we're talking about is the Loyalist. Pretty decent little pocket purifier or pocket scorcher. This can actually take down automaton gunships, so that's kind of cool. But overall, this is just more of drip. So, but if we're actually talking about guns, I don't know. It's very average. I would say this is probably like a 6.5 out of 10. Chemical agents. Okay, so the armor provides 80% resistance to gas damage and effects. Fun little fact, if you have heavy advanced filtration armor on and you have vitality, you will take 0 damage against gas. So if you want to do a gas build, that's pretty cool. G4 gas grenades, arguably the best grenade in the game when it comes to crowd control. I would say this is probably A tier or S tier against all factions. This thing is phenomenal. The sterilizer, not very good. It's more of a single target weapon. I wish this thing just vomited gas all over the screen and would take up a lot of space like the gas grenades do, but unfortunately it does not. On this page, we have the stim pistol. I wish it had a locking mechanism like the spear or the wasp or the warrant where you could lock on, because right now it just doesn't feel very good. And then the dog breath. In my opinion, this is the best guard dog in the game. I like it a lot. This thing just has so much crowd control. It's incredible. There are times where I hardly ever get touched, even playing on solo when I have this thing. It feels really good. So between the dog breath and the gas grenade, these are the things that really take this to the next level. I would say this Warbond is a solid 8 out of 10. Freedom's Flame. So we have inflammable armor, provides 75% damage resistance. I wish it would be a little bit more, but whatever. This is almost essential when you're playing against the new Dragon Roaches because they do fire damage, which I don't love that you need to run a specific armor, but it is what it is. I'm actually glad that we have it, though, because if we didn't, we would just be getting absolutely torched by those unbalanced enemies. Okay, speaking of torching things, the Cookout is probably the best grenade in the game, and then one of the best, did I say grenade? One of the best guns in the game, and certainly the best shotgun in the game. It's a light armor pen, but it sets enemies on fire, and it does a ton of stagger. You can just stop enemies in their tracks if they're coming at you, like stalkers or alpha commanders. It's very good. This is a fantastic weapon overall. The Torture is probably really shines against the bugs the most, especially with the warp pack. You can set the ground on fire, warp backwards, set the ground on fire again, and just continue to do that, and your enemies have to walk through layers and layers of fire. Feels pretty good. It's definitely fun to use, for sure. And then on this page, the Crisper, this thing, a lot of people don't realize is actually quite good against the bots. You can go underneath and, torch the belly of a factory strider, and you can take them down in about one canister with this. So overall, this Warbond is, you know, I would say it's not too bad. The cookout is definitely very good. The crisper is a lot better than people think. I would probably give this Warbond a 7.5 out of 10. Viper Commandos, the armor set, peak physique. This does feel good if you're using those really clunky weapons like the Jar 5 Dominator, the AMR, the DCS, the heavy machine gun. But outside of that, you know, it is what it is. But it can really help with maneuverability of those clunkier weapons. The Liberator Carbine, it's just another Liberator. I'm not a big fan. Even when this thing is fully upgraded, I still don't think it's that great. The Bushwhacker, I wish this thing had different armor pens based on its different firing modes, but it doesn't. So because it doesn't, I don't think it's very good. The throwing knife, it is pretty quiet. You do get 20 of them, but you can't pick them up. It's kind of inaccurate, and you can't throw them very far. So again, I think this is more of a meme than anything. So I'm not a big fan of this Warbond. I would honestly, I would give this Warbond probably like a 2.5 out of 10. Polar Patriots. So the armor here, servo assisted. I mean, there's a lot of this kind of armor in the game, increases throwing range. So it's fine, I guess. The Tenderizer is a decent AR. It shines most against the bots. I don't know. I mean, I'd say it's like B tier against, you know, most factions at best. The Pummeler used to be good, but then they nerfed it. Now it sucks, and stun is kind of broken, so this just doesn't feel very good at all. Incendiaries are pretty good against all factions, even the bots. It immediately ignites once it makes contact, and it is actually pretty good at crowd control, so this is a solid choice overall. Purifier, one of the best guns in the game, in my opinion, definitely top 5. Some might argue even top 3, depending on who you're playing against. So very good. Medium armor pen, has good crowd control, just a solid pick overall. The Verdict, medium armor pen, very fast fire rate, feels good to shoot. This is actually Claystatic's favorite secondary in the game. But really, the thing that sets this apart, this Warbond apart, is really the Purifier. That's what's kind of holding this up right now until they fix the stun and they revert the changes of the Pummeler. So I might be ranking this a little bit lower, but really the only good thing in here is the Purifier. So I would say that this is probably like a 6.5 out of 10. Democratic Detonation. All right, so as you've probably heard from many people, this is the best Warbond in the game. It's really not even close. The engineering kit, this is pretty standard. It just gives you 2 extra grenades and allows you to reduce recoil when crouching. Solid choice, nothing crazy, but it's a solid choice. Thermite is, I mean, potentially S tier against all factions. This thing just deletes, it can delete everything outside of the biggest enemies with 1, and even the biggest enemies, you can take them down with 2. 2 of these to the head of a Bile Titan takes it down, 2 of these to the joint of a Harvester takes it down, and 2 of these to the same side of a belly of a Factory Strider takes it down. These things are insane. The Adjudicator, not bad. It is a medium armor pen assault rifle, and when it's fully upgraded, it feels pretty good. The Eruptor, fantastic, very solid choice against all factions, has a ton of utility, has heavy armor pen, has a bunch of demo force, you can blow up bug holes and downed UFOs and things like that, and it's great for crowd control as well. Just an overall fantastic gun. Then you've got the grenade pistol, again, bunch of versatility, crowd control, demo force, can blow up structures, very good. And then the crossbow, same thing, you know, like I said with the Adjudicator, or not the Adjudicator, the Eruptor. So very good at crowd control, very good at destroying things, very good overall. Now, I want to give this a 10 out of 10, but I have to reserve my excitement. I have to be realistic here. Not every Warbond has been released yet, so I can't give this a 10 out of 10 because I don't know if it's a perfect Warbond. That being said, it is the best Warbond out thus far, by far, and so with that, I got to give it a 9.5 out of 10. All right. Here, We have electrical conduit, provides 95% resistance to arc damage. This is very good against the Illuminate. Outside of that, it's pretty niche. The sickle, very fast firing, pretty accurate, and it has unlimited ammo as long as you don't overheat it. So solid choice. We've got the stun grenades. They used to be good, but they've since been dethroned by grenades like the gas and other things like that. So it's okay. It's very good for crowd control, but I'd rather kill enemies than just control them. The Plasma Punisher, this thing actually shined against the Rupture Strain before they removed the Rupture Strain. So it's a solid choice when it comes to crowd control and things like that. If the Rupture Strain comes back and you still need to use explosive weapons, this is actually a very solid choice against that. The dagger, it's kind of like a mini scythe. This thing is cool, more useful against the bots than anything else. If they do secondary weapon customization and they do something similar to this that they did with the scythe, this can make this actually a pretty good little secondary weapon. And the Blitzer, this is my favorite go-to weapon against the bugs, and I actually don't mind it against the Illuminate either. So because of that, I would say we have some pretty decent weapons in here. Overall, I would give this probably in my opinion, 7.5 out of 10, just because I really do like the Blitzer, and in certain situations, the sickle can shine pretty well. So I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. Steel Veterans. So we have the servo assisted, which we already talked about. It's fine. The Senator is a heavy pen secondary. Feels really good, especially if you take it against the Illuminate. It can pop the Overseer's heads in one shot. You can take down Hulks with 2 shots to the visor, so that's pretty cool. Liberator Concussive, it just pushes enemies back. It's not really that exciting or good. We have the Incendiary Standard. Again, very similar to the Impact Incendiary, just has a longer fuse time, but it's very good at crowd control. Breaker Incendiary, solid choice, especially against the bugs. Sets enemies on fire, large mag capacity, fires fairly quickly, overall pretty good gun. And then the Jar 5 Dominator, it kind of handles like a cement truck, but it also hits like one too. And with the Peak Physique armor, this thing actually feels a lot better. And, you know, if you run this with a supply pack, you know, it actually feels pretty good. So overall, this is a pretty decent Warbond. I would give this, I would say, a 7 out of 10. Okay. And the free Warbond that you get from the start. So there are some things in here that are kind of cool. There's some other things that are The frag grenade in the game, it's fine. It's your standard grenade. There's nothing special about it, but it's certainly not bad. Punisher, solid choice when it comes to a shotgun. We've got the Scout, so mark place on the map, generate radar scans, and reduces range at which enemies can detect the wearer by 30%. So this is more for your stealth builds. The Redeemer, not too bad. It's fine if you're running weapons like the Eruptor or the Crossbow. You can swap this out and you can take enemies out that are getting close to you. The Diligence, pretty solid choice, especially against the bots. It's one of my favorite weapons to actually take against the bots because it has a decent ammo capacity, decent damage, and it's very accurate. You can pop those heads. The Defender, it's fine. I don't know. It's fine against all 3 factions. I wouldn't put this really higher than B tier, though. It's just very average. The Breaker, at first, when this game first came out, everyone thought the Breaker was fantastic, and then we realized that other guns exist. So I like to shoot it. It's fun to shoot, but it's not very practical. So it's definitely better with the upgrades from the weapon customization, though. The Scythe, very underpicked and overlooked gun when it comes to the automatons. This thing can take out a Devastator head from a quarter mile away. This thing is just a laser beam, and it does pretty good amount of damage. Impact grenades are heavy armor pen. They actually do a lot of damage. I like them a lot. The Lib pen, this gun really only feels decent when it's fully upgraded, and even then it only feels decent. The Diligence Counter Sniper, again, with certain armor, it feels better, but I think they need to work on the ergonomics. This thing just, it just doesn't handle very good at all. Smoke grenades are what they are. You know, it's fine. It does what it needs to do, but it's, you know, it's not anything crazy. And then the slugger, they cut the dick off this gun shortly after launch. It was very good. It had demo force. It was very accurate. Then they gave it spread, which makes no sense because it shoots a rifled slug. So I don't know how you give spread to a singular projectile, but realism, I guess. And yeah, so this thing sucks now. Breaker spray and pray. No reason to bring this over the incendiary breaker or even the standard breaker. They got to give this thing 10 or 15 more rounds for it to even feel good. This just gives you 2 more stims. And then the last page. So we have democracy protects, more realism here. So a 50% chance not to die when taking lethal damage. I have set off a Hellbound backpack and survived it with this armor, which feels pretty good, but I don't understand, you know, why Arrowhead keeps bringing up realism, because that is the opposite of that. But this is really the main reason why you would invest in this Warbond. And by invest, I mean just invest the time. Because in order to get to the Scorcher, you got to unlock like 2,000 medals. This is one of the best guns in the game. Probably top 3 guns, S tier against all factions. This thing is phenomenal. And if you pair this with the supply backpack and the siege ready armor, this thing is maybe the best gun in the game. So I would give this Warbond, overall, I'd probably give this Warbond like I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10, just because there are a lot of little things in this Warbond that are actually pretty good. You just have to dedicate a lot of time to getting there. So yeah, 8 out of 10. All right, that is it. We went through everything. If you guys enjoyed it, maybe give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if you disagree with me or agree with me on certain things. And I'll see you on the next one. Have a good day. Appreciate you guys.